kind of what I love about it. It's just like there are no rules really. I mean,
Yeah.
all the shit that I've just said,
Yeah.
it's not true.
Ain't it music?
I hope you love music more after this.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Love Music More. I'm Scoobert Dubert, about to have a great conversation with Tristan Clopet. He is a film and television scorer, making the music, producing the music, mixing the music, and he's also been an accomplished live performer, sharing the stage with ex-ambassadors, Tove Lo, The Weeknd. So it's really great conversation about the transition from performer to composer, and then also just what's the difference between those different worlds, and what's the difference between scoring for commercials, like a lot of the stuff that I've done, versus scoring for film and TV and working with directors. Before we get into that, great conversation, really excited to share. I want to introduce you to our title sponsor, DistroKid. DistroKid makes music distribution fun and easy with unlimited uploads, and artists get to keep 100% of royalties and earnings. 1 million plus artists rely on DistroKid to get their music onto Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, Instagram, and all of the major streaming services, and we have a 30% off discount just for you. Go to distrokid.com/VIP/lovemusicmore to get started. One of my favorite things about DistroKid is I'm able to go on my app, check my royalties, send splits, edit my lyrics, all that good stuff just from the convenience of my phone. So check out DistroKid today and enjoy the conversation. Love music more. Love music more. Music more. Music more. Music more. What's good, everybody? I'm Scoobert Dubert. Welcome back to Love Music More, and I am joined with Tristan Clopet. Welcome to the show, man.
Very well pronounced. Thank you.
Thank you. I was agonizing over it. You saw the moment of pause.
As soon as you said Tristan, I was like, oh shit, here we go.
Here it comes.
How's it gonna come out? I've heard it all, man.
I would imagine. That's why I keep my name simple, Scoobert Dubert. I want to talk to you about your musical journey and then kind of what it actually looks like right now to be producing for film. We were just talking about a documentary that you are mixing right now. What does it actually look like? What is the interplay like right now, 2025, of how does the work come in? How do you decide what kind of direction you're taking it? How do you make that happen? Like, walk me through that journey.
Yeah, it's the most common question you get from aspiring composers, film composers, is like, how'd you get in? And it's an apt question because that's a lot of times the hardest part of the job, is getting the gig. At least, in the beginning, it's very difficult. So I guess kind of what I tell everyone is that it's such a mix of craft and art. And I feel like art is something that you can start honing early. It's really hard to hone your craft before you're kind of like under a deadline or you're expected to solve somebody else's problem. And so I feel like the best entry point to get in this is to start working with someone else as their assistant or, whatever. If you're
talk
starting
about
below an
deadlines,
assistant.
I feel like out of every kind of side of the industry, producing music for any sort of visual medium seems to be the most like, we need it by this weekend. We're constantly pressing, versus like record production. There is a little bit more of like, can we be zen about it? Can we discover ourselves?
And that's like the push and pull too, is like, you hear all these stories about like great songwriters, recording artists who want to, dip their toe in that world. And sometimes it goes great and you get really interesting stuff. And then sometimes the artist is just like, this is, nobody tells me what to do. Like, you're lucky to have my, and it's not, that world doesn't work like that. It's a very, very collaborative, you work at the pleasure of the president,
Yes.
And so, but that's what I love about it. I love about it because I think the reason why I started as in songwriting and touring, and that's how I know Luke and Russ, or I know Luke from college, but I was in the band with them, Great Good Fun Okay, and I had my own thing too, and it was too much freedom. It was like too much choice, too much possibility, and
Yes.
I couldn't really, I was just too scatterbrained all the time. And once I started working to picture, it was like, oh my God, there's a function for this music. And for me, and I know it's not for everybody, but for me, that was like a huge key to unlock the door. Getting a brief, and someone saying, hey man, this music needs to do this.
What's an
And
example of like what a brief would look like, or one of like some of the adjectives they might use?
it's a great question. It's different every time. I did a little bit of commercial work before film, and those briefs are as you would expect them. Like we want something hot and poppy, and of the time, and like it's got to have a groove. And it's like the briefs in the film world are interesting because every director, showrunner, these are the people that you write for. They all kind of have different ways of conveying their goals for the score. A common kind of lineage between the person who speaks music and the person who doesn't speak music is temp score. Are you familiar with that concept?
Yes.
So, a lot of composers kind of hate hearing temp score. You get the job, which is, as we said, it's the hardest thing. And then it's all easy from there. You somehow figure out what it is that they want for their project. And the best way for them to communicate that is a lot of them, I should say, is to kind of give them an example of what is working. And then you have to parse through what about that temp, what about it that it is that they like. And it can be a number of things. It can be as simple as like the pace of it, or it could be a solo instrument in that recording that hits them. And you hope that if that's the case, that it's a discernible instrument and not some like hybrid synth thing that like, and you're just like, what is that? I want that. And you're like, oh, I don't even know what that is. Can I have a couple of days to figure out what that is? Temp is like the film composer's brief sort of in a lot of instances. When it's not, you tend to get more rewarding film scores, I think.
Yeah, does the temp feel like it like centers you too much, or like you're like, okay,
it can.
Yeah. Because if you watch it without the temp, I feel like you have that opportunity to determine your own pace a little bit, to determine like not just tempo, but like subdivision and like how am I flowing from there A to B.
It's really interesting that you used rhythm as one of the ways that the composer might feel more free, because in my opinion, and I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but
definitely more right than I am.
In my opinion, rhythm is one of the least negotiable things. Subdivision, as an extension of that, is one of the least negotiable things because the rhythm has already been sort of established by the editor.
Yeah.
Unless you kind of have like this big expansive sequence where there's long shots, you have a lot more room to play with.
And for the people, just so that we understand kind of the process, is it fairly linear where it's like the film is pretty much picture locked, and then do you like record the score and then they make editing tweaks? How does that channel kind of flow?
Most of the time you're working to picture, and you have a tight deadline because you're last in line, or you're working consequently with special effects or whatever.
Yes.
But again, and there's a common theme here. The less pressured you make the composer feel, the more you'll tend to get something more intrinsic to your film or in the same DNA of your film. You hear a lot of stories in the film composing world about composers with memorable scores having started way earlier, and even having it be cut around. In one film I worked on recently, and I know the director, I've worked with him in the past. I know the editor, I've worked with him in the past, and so I was hired very early, and I was writing to the script, and the script has pacing. It's not as kind of set in stone, but the script has an inherent pacing, and writing kind of just pieces of music that are bound by very little, send it to them. If they like it, the editor might cut around it. And that's really cool. It's really cool when somebody else does something that dictates you, when you're working on TV, sometimes they have title sequences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the title sequence graphics have been created, and it's your job to hit the sync points. And when you have to hit the sync points, you're kind of tied rhythmically, you're tied down rhythmically. More often than not, in my experience, you're writing the music, and the special effects team is kind of editing to your music rhythmically, or even harmonically and melodically, whatever. Yeah, you ask two really good back-to-back questions, and the answer is for both. It completely depends. It's all you just get everything thrown at you, and you just have to like work around things, because it's again, and this is like kind of common with the comparison between the pop world records and film composing, is like you're just really confined a lot more in film composing, and I love that. A lot of people don't like that, but I love feeling confined. I like, okay, there's only so far we can go this way. So for me, that just like cuts down so much of what shouldn't happen. You know what I mean?
Totally know what you mean.
If I'm sitting at like a blank session and I'm like, oh my God, like I have an idea for a song. This is what I want to say. It's like there's just an array of options. And for me, that's not fun. For someone like you, that's like, hell yeah, we could do anything. Start with this sound and just go from there. The way my brain works is just like, oh.
Even still, like, yes, I agree. I'm further on that end. Like the amount of decisions that I have to make, especially when I'm doing a record end to end, like from 0 to mixed, is just hilarious. But I am also doing it usually through my project or through someone else's project. So there is like a fixed set of, this is the general instrumentation, this is the general kind of vibe. So there's like, even then, it's a nebulous cloud that shifts and moves. But even then, there are like creative parameters that do unlock other things. The most daunting thing is to sit down and be like, I'm going to start a new artist project. Oh my God, what do I even sound like? What do I sing like? How do I pronounce my words?
Of course. I feel like that's like a twice in a lifetime thing. Like
right, exactly. And like, thank God. Could you imagine doing that every? I mean, that'd be kind of cool, actually. But even in some of these worlds, I feel like those are your anchor points, or the like decisions that are made for you beforehand, or the things that you can kind of hold on to in the stormy sea.
Totally, man. There's in this documentary that we're mixing right now, we found the palette pretty early on, and it was narrow, and so in one cue, bit of an actiony, more action than then it's not an action documentary, but it's like someone like knocking down a door or something, and that's like the biggest action in the thing. But you're just like, okay, we need a little bit of a kick drum here. And it's like, there's no kick drum in this score anywhere. I can't use a kick drum because that's going to stick out like a sore thumb. I have these instruments. It's kind of like an Appalachia type palette. And so you're just like, am I going to use a kick drum for one scene, one cue? No, I'm going to, these are my options. I can't just like bring in something for this. Like, so it's just like knocking on the body of your parlor acoustic guitar, and like making that your kick drum. That's exciting.
Yes.
Confines. You ever read that book, I think it's called The Art of Choosing or The Art of Choice?
No, I haven't. Sounds up my alley.
It's that science basically laid out, where it's just like the more choice we have, the less happy we are.
I took a class on that. I don't know if it was 1-to-1, the same book, but it was like the science of happiness. It was like an elective.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was the same kind of thing where they were showing study after study after study of like the grocery store actually makes people unhappy because there's just too many boxes of cereal. Yeah. And like we have this illusion of choice at the same time as like the paralysis of choice. It's kind of the worst of both worlds.
Yeah. Exactly. And there's been some studies on that restaurants have like adopted. We have 5 mains on the menu. Right. We don't have like a diner full of stuff.
Make some decisions for me. You're the chef,
Yeah. Give me a fish, give me a white meat, give me a dark meat,
Yeah.
But in the book it talks about how there are like pretty successful arranged marriages. Like arranged marriages are, and maybe there's other elements going into that, confounding, pressure or whatever. But I just find it funny, like the psychological comparison between, these are my options and we can do anything we want, and there are, I'm sure like there are scores, there are definitely scores out there where it's just like, we're going to use the kitchen sink, and that's the choice,
Yes.
So that anything you throw at the audience in the third act is not going to sound out of place.
Yeah.
You see that movie, The Brutalist?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I thought that it was, I'm trying to remember everything about the score now, though.
The score was well received.
Yeah.
I think it won the Oscar.
Won the Oscar.
But yeah, it was a beautiful score. I just thought it was so interesting. I don't know why my mind went to this, where there's sort of like an epilogue in that film, and it's meant to be Toth's last. I shouldn't spoil it for people, should I?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Well,
I'm,
there's an epilogue.
I'm looking up Daniel Blumberg wrote
Yeah,
over
Daniel Bloomberg or Blumberg. Yeah,
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 he wrote over 2 hours of music for the film.
yeah. It's a long
Fascinating.
film. I think
Yeah,
it's a
right.
3 hour film or something like that. Two and a half. But yeah, that score takes a sharp right turn at the end. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about for the epilogue. And I found it so interesting. It's kind of what I love about it. It's just like there are no rules really. I mean,
Yeah,
all the shit that I've just said,
yeah.
it's not true. No, you do whatever you like. It's so funny, like that Debussy thing where it's like you got to learn the rules and then remember that there's no rules.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like if you do kind of step out of the confines intentionally, sometimes it can have a pretty rewarding effect.
Well, I
But
think that's why your choice of words for palette is really great, and I feel that way sometimes when I'm doing an album too. And like I was reading about Beatles and some of their old recording sessions, and they were talking about Day in the Life and how they didn't quite have the budget to get the whole orchestra, so they were triple tracking the orchestra, and it sounds a certain way. All these like little constraints leading towards other decisions, and obviously, like Sergeant Pepper is pretty maximalist in terms of the options that they had, but at the same time, I feel like it was intentionally like this song is more Baroque, this song is more clarinet focused, and then the last song we're going to smack you up the face with everything we've got. I think that progression, even of itself with such a wide palette, it's choosing like how much do you deploy at what time, and how do you save some in the tank for the maximal, just like the epilogue, but like Day in the Life of,
yes,
we'll hit you with all we've got.
yes. Isn't it so interesting that they were having that sort of plan
Yeah.
for their audience in that moment? And it's almost exactly the same plan that a filmmaker has. It doesn't really exist that way in recorded music anymore. I find that so sad. I heard somebody speaking about Sgt. Pepper's and being like, the benefit of Mr. Kite would not be a song today. Because it's strict. It has a strict purpose in the journey of that album.
Yeah.
You know, same with Maxwell's Silver Hammer. You know, like you're not gonna like nobody wants to hear that song on its own. I love that song, by the way.
Yeah,
I love that song. But you know what I mean? It's a function. It's a cog. You know, and like it's part of the journey. It's a scene in the record. I find it so sad that like that's not a thing anymore. Like it's rarely a thing. You know, in recorded music.
Like the shuffling, the playlist era, both of those things kind of cut against
the single
it.
era. Yeah.
The other thing that I think is a lost art is the closing song, like that.
You mean like the hidden track?
Either the hidden track or like the last song in the album being like the best song in the album, like
yeah, man.
You know,
like Street Spirit.
Exactly, or like In Utero, like All Apologies, or
yeah.
I'm just trying,
that was cool.
Like,
you know, I never
Nirvana did that
understood.
well.
I never understood why artists didn't sequence their albums like a concert.
Yeah, exactly. Because nobody gets to it, and people burn out, and then they don't get to the late
that
stuff.
What it
I think
is?
that's why.
I was always wondering that. Yeah.
I try to as much as I can in my music. I try to do that because, like, you know, all these bands that are going out playing their big record.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes it's a bummer when like the big record is front loaded. They go out and play this tour, and it's well.
And in today's world, at least for me, I'm hearing a new record, and I'm like, you know, I don't blame them one bit, but you know it's front loaded. So you hear an artist, and you're like, you hear the first song, you're like, hell yeah, this is cool. Hear the second song, I like this one too. Hear the third song, this is cool too. Fourth, fifth, sixth, you're like, yeah, it's cool, you know. And then 7, 8, 9, you know. And it's such a sad trajectory that you know this artist kind of put all their favorites at the beginning because they know that their audience's, you know, attention span is short. And so they put all their favorites in the beginning and they put all their least favorites in the end.
Yeah.
And as a whole listening experience, which nobody does anymore, case in point, you know, it's kind of like a sad thing where it's like, okay, I've heard the first one, that's the best they have to offer. But then you know what I think about, and this has been a conversation of contradictions throughout.
Yep. Ain't it music?
I hope you love music more after this. Like U2 for Joshua Tree, you know, they did that. They had like their friends come in, or maybe their wives or somebody, and they played them the record out of sequence, and they asked them to rate them, like rank them.
Huh.
And they
sequenced
Joshua Tree based on how much everybody liked each track. So
Really?
they did exactly that. They put their most popular track first using data, not just like hunches or personal opinions.
Right.
And, that's a pretty great listening experience,
pretty great listen. That's right.
But I guess nobody's writing like a track 9 like U2 writes a track 9.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like a special era of YouTube. But at the same time, I think there's always hope. Like the pendulum could swing. People are listening to 4-hour-long podcasts and like mega YouTube deep dives and stuff. Like there is this weird appetite for going further, and maybe there that would return, or some of that magic energy would come to the LP experience.
You know what? And also, just because the artist feels like track 8 is not the thing that's going to grab someone, it doesn't mean that it's not super cool in its own special way.
Yeah, but I do think it gets way cooler if you bookend it a little bit and like have some bangers at the end.
I agree, but we're old.
But we're old. That's how it goes. Yelling at clouds. I did it.
Back in my day.
So I want to talk about the transition from, performing live, sharing the stage with incredible people. We were talking about Great Good Fine Okay, ex-ambassadors, Weeknd. I mean, like Tove Lo, Billy Bragg. Do you miss any of that excitement? Or do you feel it in a different way?
I don't really miss it, but I have a very fond memory of it.
Yeah.
Very grateful for it. Yeah. For me, it's like if I can do music for a living and I don't have to sleep in like, you know what I mean? You know where I'm going with this. Yeah. I also don't love the spotlight. I don't like being on stage very much. And you kind of have to be on stage. With Great Good Fine Okay, it was great because I like was next to the drummer. Yeah. And I even turned my keys sideways.
Cool.
Like staring side of the stage. And it's just like, I hope nobody looks at me. I'm going to do my thing. That's not a good recipe for touring.
Yeah, that's a good sign. That's a good sign for you that you
I feel like I made the right decision. Yeah. But I really do miss being in a band.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Cuz it is very isolating. Yeah. I mean, if you're kind of recording all your own parts and stuff. Yeah, I do miss being in a band and like, the next morning after or even right after the gig, driving to the next thing, talking about the gig.
Yeah.
I have a lot of great memories of working with the people in that band. But being on the road, I don't know. It's, I am pretty grateful. I've seen like kind of all the 48 mainland states.
That's cool.
That's pretty amazing, Yeah. Somebody's talking about El Paso the other day, and I was like, I've been there. Sorry
to interrupt this very important broadcast. What I'm asking for is for you to rate it 5 stars, share it with your friends. This is like the most important thing for this podcast to grow. So if you want to do this, you go onto the podcast screen, right? You click on the ... on Spotify. Under there, it says rate show. And you go and you click it 5 stars. If you could do that for me, that's the best way for the algorithms and all that stuff to share it out with the world. I know that it's a lot to ask, but if you could please just hit those 3 dots and then a 5 star, it would really help us out and helps us, get the word out and spread the love of music. So thank you. If you're listening on YouTube, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much. And here's the rest of the episode.
Why else would I go to El Paso?
I've never been to the Dakotas. That's
have you not?
A gap on my. Not a lot of shows there.
Yeah, right.
My world. Maybe with your Appalachia music, we could.
Yeah, right. Have you ever thought about doing scoring?
So I've done some stuff for commercials. I did that. I didn't love it. I still don't love it.
Did you write to picture, or did you have a song licensed?
I've done both. Done both. Writing to picture was definitely more fun. I do think that a longer form piece would be more fun because then it would be a much more of like an immersive experience rather than a lot of what I've done has either been like I'm pitching along with a lot of other people, like, inch deep, mile wide kind of work. The opposite would definitely be attractive, but I don't know. I'm not a great generalist. I can play a lot of instruments, but I've got a pretty strong sonic fingerprint at this point that I don't know if I'd be super good at doing anything other than like tangentially my sound for picture. But if it was that, I love deadlines. I like making creative decisions and running. Yeah. So I think I would enjoy the pace and the collaboration. But yeah, I would have to find the right fit, I think. I don't think I could just do anything.
Is your musical interest as a listener broad?
Yes, definitely.
So So your musical interest is broad, and yet you don't feel like it translates to like a desire to write in those styles.
Not really. I like borrow, add to, but
Yeah.
I at least for what I'm doing now and what I've kind of evolved into, I feel confident and happy with kind of like my musical self.
Cool.
And be like, okay, yeah, like jazz version, but it's gonna be like jazz version of that. I'm not a good chameleon. I kind of never have been, and I'm even more so now. Of like, yeah, I've practiced. I've played in bands of different genres, and like I've done all of that stuff. every time I try, like at least for the last several years, every time I try and be like, okay, I'm gonna make a country song or whatever, it's like weird Scuba Dubert folk rock country. It's like, okay, and like it's just me all the way down.
But are you kind of doing that? Mm-hmm. You're doing that under the guise of Scuba Dubert.
Not always.
No? Okay. So this might be like this might be our song for somebody else.
Yep.
But it kind of always magnetizes back to.
Yeah, and I think it's just kind of like where my taste is gone on so many different levels. I think I would be better if I had other people that I was working with. If there was like another mix engineer, if there was another drummer or something like that. But if I'm like doing end to end, it's just I have too much of myself into the final product, and it just kind of sounds like me doing another genre sort of halfway, which like maybe some people would be into their stuff sounding that way, but I don't know if I can authentically do something like make Appalachia style. I could make a Appalachia tinged thing, maybe with the right players I could. But
so you know what's interesting about what you're saying? It reminds me of hearing an interview with David Bowie. And man, I hope I'm not doing a 180 on this. I don't think I am.
Yeah.
But I thought he said at one point that he knows a song is finished when he can't hear himself in it. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
I hope I'm not fucking that up and doing the inverse. The song's not finished until I only hear myself,
Yeah, right.
It could be the case. I don't know. But I thought he said...
Either direction's profound, so it's okay. Yeah.
Either direction. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, I love not hearing myself.
Yeah.
In fact, if I hear myself, I don't like it. It's like, oh, I've used that move before. I used that move in this project or whatever. Yeah. Oh, that's a tendency, that I tend, you are writing as an extension of you. And I'm writing as an extension of me and this huge other thing,
I almost feel like somebody that like only trained their arms or only trained their legs. Like I'm just so skewed in that direction where somebody's like, all right, time to do bench press. It's like, well, I only do squats.
Yeah.
Which is like, I can do some. And I hopefully I'm not scaring away potential work.
I know, that's the scary part. Yeah, that's the scary part, man. It's like you do this Appalachian tinged score, and then people are like, oh, that's the guy who does Appalachia stuff,
Right.
It's like, no. Totally. No, this was a one-off or whatever, I shouldn't say that because I like Appalachian music.
Me too.
But what's interesting though is that there is a little bit of a self-consciousness that comes along with trying to be a chameleon or aspiring to being a chameleon, because you don't have any one genre mastered.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I mean, you're writing an Appalachian style documentary, and it's going to, an Appalachian, bluegrass player, a mandolinist is going to look at that and be like, yeah, this is like watered down or whatever, unless you're like going full bore and you're getting, I don't know, you're putting it through the filter. You're putting everything through that filter. And
can I tell you a story? It just came into my head. So this was for a documentary. It was like the worst musical experience I think I've ever had. Not really, but sort of. I was asked to make Bavarian music.
Cool.
I was like, I don't have history with Bavarian music. I'm just gonna listen to it.
But you said yes because you have to say yes.
Because I want the money. And I made this like weird accordion. I'm like, I don't have time to hire a player. I'm reaching out to the guy that's doing like the production coordinator, whatever. And he's like, no, you just got to do MIDI. You got to figure it out. I turn in this like phoned in weird accordion keyboard MIDI thing, and then the director's like, I'm presumably in a very thick German accent, this composer doesn't understand the music of Bavaria at all. I'm like, I don't, man, I'm sorry.
Oh no. Did you change your name for the gig? Give yourself a German name?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the piece.
That was the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it. I'm certain it sounds terrible. It probably is the worst piece of music I've ever made, and I did it professionally. So sorry, Bavaria, I've let you down.
No, I mean, it's a journey, and like sometimes it's gonna work and sometimes it's not. And we make music. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad you took the gig. I'm glad you had that experience. I've had many like that. It's only makes us stronger.
It's true.
But who the hell says play a fucking MIDI accordion? You got bad advice, man.
That's true. It was just set up to fail, and I failed, did I?
Whoa, jeez. Yeah, I've done kind of all kinds of stuff like that. There was one time I had a music editor working on a film. Last minute, of course, reaching out to me. Is there any way you can do like a country song? And I was like, yeah, I love country. What kind are you looking for? And he's like, well, something like Down and Out at a honky tonk in Texas in the 80s. And I was like, ooh, perfect, say no more.
Yes.
So I wrote this song, She Left Me and Took the Dog. And I did it in like 12 hours and I sent it in. And it didn't make the film. It was in the edit.
Cool.
This is a film that you may have seen. Huge. It would have been awesome to be in this film because I love this film. But it was in the edit for a really long time, and then they just decided to go musicless in that scene. But sorry, it would have been source music, meaning diegetic. They're at the bar. These two people are at the bar. That was one of the best moments of my career, and it didn't even make the film. But it was just so cool to say, all right, I have 12 hours. Let me listen to a couple George Strait songs. Let me hear how that snare sounds. Let me hear how the lead guitar sounds and do it. And yeah, it's faking it. They're totally faking it. It's really fun to try and do it.
And you do learn a lot by doing it because you have to listen so deeply. You have to keep the decisions moving.
So much, man. So much. When I was really, really young and YouTube was just invented, I thought it would be cool to get like people to check out my music by doing covers. I used to do like these split screen covers where I'd record myself playing an instrument at a time. Hopefully people would search for the song and then they would see the cover, and this is not new now, but back when YouTube came out, and it worked. Like people found the stuff that I was doing and then found my music. But the reason I'm telling you this is because I learned so much learning that song in 2 hours and then performing it under pressure. I got to get this video up on YouTube in the next whatever. So you search for that song and my video comes up third or fourth or fifth or whatever. Man, doing that, you learn so much. You learn so much so fast. It's like that was what directors say to young directors. They're just like, you can go to film school and it'll help you or whatever, but you're not going to learn until you do it. The best advice is just go do it. And, it'll suck in the beginning and whatever. Your craft will not meet your opportunity yet, and you keep doing it.
I feel like that weighs so strongly about like tools, production tools, new VST, like instrument or technical side of music creation. It's like, yes, you can take a class or whatever, but you're going to learn so much more if you just keep running into problems and blowing down the wall, especially on the technical side, because you can brute force it. On like, I don't understand how this program works. I'm going to figure out a way for this program to work. Like a musical instrument or playing drums or something like that, your whole neurons have to change for something that's just purely technical craft. Just like getting in it, getting your hands dirty. Did the world for me.
Yeah. I went to school a little bit for recording engineering, and I remember the day that the professor was trying to teach us what compression sounds like. And it was so hard for me to hear what compression sounded like. And he would give us an example of like an AC/DC song. Be like, do you hear that? And be like, no, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Then you get in and you start messing with the threshold and you're like, oh, now I get what compression is doing. What the difference between that and a limiter is. To exactly your point. Get your hands on it, and like, I don't think there's any danger in this generation or the next generation of doing that. I mean, you're forced to do it, But yeah. Talking about Luke and Russ, those two guys are incredible. They're incredible in general. They're incredible musicians, but they are wonderful technically too, and they've taught me so much. Even just sending them references or even working together on things. And even, I mean, I still work with them.
Yeah.
From college. Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing about like music school is you get to be around people that are so good that you just learn from being next to them, like osmosis.
I didn't go to music school.
You didn't go to music school?
No, I couldn't get into the
Interesting.
music engineering.
Gotcha.
I wanted to be a music engineer.
Okay.
Because I didn't like the spotlight.
Because you went to UM, right?
Yeah, UM. Yeah.
But you were on a different path.
I was an English major.
I didn't know that. That's cool. Cool.
Yeah, I couldn't get into music school because I didn't have there was like one fucking science class I didn't have.
No.
And I'm terrible. It's like chemistry or something. It's like something really
you had to
basic.
take the chemistry to get into music school?
Maybe it wasn't chemistry, maybe it was physics. I didn't take either of them. I never made it that far in high school. But yeah, they said no thank you, and which is cool, whatever.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed my learning there at that school. And then I just hung out with the music kids because I was doing my music on the side, and that's where I met so many of my friends, now. But yeah, like learning so much from them, and yeah, there's just being in the room, listening, looking. You can pick up a lot of stuff,
Yes.
if you're open to it.
Yes. And if you have a certain baseline level of understanding, like one of the things that I remember early sessions versus sessions now, a lot easier to watch people and follow like their workflows now because I understand most of the tools and now I'm seeing how they're deployed versus in the beginning it just was like a whir of shortcuts and windows.
You're, like some beautiful GUI like pops up and you're like, what are all those colors? Wow, what's a phaser? Yeah, man.
So I wanted to ask you about the different films and works that you're scoring. Does it make you nervous when you're like, all right, like Martin Freeman or like
hell yeah,
Bryan Cranston?
Yeah,
it's like,
hell yeah.
Yeah, okay, because you're seeing them on picture and you're like, this is one of the best actors.
Yeah,
and you're like, I need to be their co-star right now.
Yeah, man, exactly. I remember the first gig. The reason I had to leave Great Good Fine Okay was because I kind of always knew that film scoring was a dream, and I got offered an assistantship. Right? Is that a word? Assistantship, apprenticeship, whatever. I was assistant.
You're the English.
Yeah, good point. A great composer named Chris Hagen offered me a gig as his assistant, and my first project was The Infiltrator with Bryan Cranston. And I remember Chris was the best possible composer to work for. I mean, encouraging is not the right word. Like he just gave me every opportunity. I thought I was like, yeah, I'll go get coffee, I'll like work my way up, I'll take out the trash. And he was like, no, I need you to do this and this and this, and I started doing like a little bit of mixing. I started doing like some session setups, finding him interesting instruments to build out his like templates and stuff, some routing stuff. And I remember very early on, or way earlier than both of us wanted, he was under the gun, as a composer often is in the film world. And he was out in LA, and he asked me to go to his studio and open up a session and work on it. I can't remember what I exactly had to do. And I'm riding in the cockpit now, and I'm by myself. He's 3,000 miles away. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Bryan Cranston on the frickin' computer. And this is right after Breaking Bad.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh my God, man. I was so like, it was like a pinch me moment. It's like, oh my, this is so cool. Like, this has to be good because people will watch this.
Right,
like, holy shit. So yeah, it's not nerves. It's actually, I love it because it is so inspiring to know that you are, it's way easier to write music underneath Bryan Cranston than it is, somebody who's not Bryan Cranston. There are way less famous actors that I've scored. I don't know what the hell the verbiage is, but that are just as incredible, And it's like when you get that performance, it is so inspiring. It fills my heart up, man. Makes me so happy that I'm doing what I'm doing. When you're like, you're completing that scene or that sequence, the actor or the director or whomever, the lighting, the DP, whoever is taking that scene 80%, and it's your job as the composer to finish that 20%. When you do it, it is like so fulfilling, It's what keeps me coming back, through all the muck and all the tough deadlines and all this stuff is like, that is the feeling that I live for when you've created like something with all these other great people. They're trying their asses off at what they're doing. And like, sometimes you got to do 80% of the scene, and that's by design. That's not because an actor is doing less. It's because, the music needs to do this in this scene or this in this montage or whatever. But just kind of working with the other artists in this collage, is so cool. And there's a scene in Startup season 1. Martin Freeman's character is having a mental breakdown. And he's in the car by himself. He's done something that he wasn't supposed to do. He regrets it. And it's a pretty big consequence. It's actually kind of brilliant that the director, Ben Kitai, just thought like, what are we going to do for this? How are we going to show this character kind of breaking down? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to put a camera on Martin Freeman and we're going to let him break down for like 2.5 minutes. And it's like heart-stopping just watching this guy go through all the million options in his head of how he's going to get out of what he did. And he's sitting in a car. Like, he's in the front seat of the car. The car's not moving. Yeah. He's just like, he needs a second to like take it all in and figure out what he's going to do or whatever. And he's incredible because he's Martin Freeman. And then it's like, it comes to me and you're like, okay, score this, Yeah. And Ben always says like, he's wonderful to work with because he knows exactly what he wants. He doesn't need, and I'm not saying that the directors or showrunners that use temp are inferior in any way. Like, no, but Ben has an idea, a theory about score. He wants the score to be what the character feels in their gut, especially in sequences like that. So he's just like, make music that sounds like what is happening in his gut in that sequence. I remember that night so vividly scoring that scene because it's just like, it's me and this incredible actor, and it's like, don't fuck it up. Like, just, he's doing so much on screen. You don't, like, he's doing 80%, he's doing 90%, and your job is to just kind of paint over it and dance with him and dance with the cutting. And it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding to just do that. I'm sure it's like for you or for people who are in, bands like full time. It's like when you're playing with your bandmates, you're dancing with them.
Yes.
I've never been a great improviser, so that's why I do it on film. But yeah, man, it's seeing these people, seeing these like luminaries on the screen. It's so inspiring. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's very inspiring because it's just you can just discern so much emotion from what they're doing. It's quite easy to like put that into music. It's not like you ever sit there and go, gosh, what am I going to do? You take what they're giving you, which is a hell of a lot. It's a lot harder when the scene is like, I've done my fair share of projects where you're like, well, what is the purpose of the scene? Or like, what is the actor trying to convey? Then maybe the music is doing a little bit more than it should be doing, and that's really hard. That's a hard position to be in. Yeah. But that's a great question. I hadn't actually kind of articulated that feeling before.
It's beautiful.
Thanks,
when you're breaking down a performance like that, like if you don't remember this exact one, just zoom out a little bit. Are you blocking it out? Like, are you putting in markers of like this kind of emotion, this kind of vibe, this enters here? Like, do you sketch it that way, or do you just start like laying down instruments and doing it by feel? Like, how do you structure just from a procedural standpoint, taking on that challenge?
Really good question. I think that rhythm is something that has more or less been established because the cut has a rhythm, as we said. The tone is something you can only really extrapolate when you see it. So I don't know how to put it into words, but you kind of just get a sense of what the picture, what the colors. It's not like a synesthesia type thing where it's not like that. It's like, it's a timbre thing. It's like, it's a timbre thing where you're just like, what timbre, you start with timbre, like how present should the score be making itself? Are we cutting? Are we kind of like really truly underscore? And I feel like that's a great place. That's a great energy kind of, you're trying to figure out the energy of what the score is supposed to be doing in that scene. So with that scene, with the Martin Freeman scene in the car, you're in the car with him. It's really dark. He has the visor up, and he's kind of he's kind of looking at himself in the mirror, the little mirror in the visor. And the only light in that scene is kind of like the illumination from the dashboard and the thing. And like, you know what that sounds like. We're not going to be using like a neck pickup Les Paul, like power chord. You know what I mean? Like, we know what that feels like. What does that feel like in music? That's the fun part, is like, what does that sound like? So yeah, it's a wonderful exploration. I think I used like a upright piano, super low, like the lowest register, a little bit of like a Berlioz foreboding thing. And then I had like a really, really, really fucked up, funny enough, electric guitar. Maybe it was in the neck pickup. Like just wailing, not so much lyrical stuff, but really, really fast right hand stuff. Super quiet. I wanted it to just feel like there was like a worm in his stomach that was just like, restless, And the whole time we kind of have this like motor of like the really low, like first octave on the piano. And just the most important thing is to not do too much. And that's just kind of what that moment felt like, was just like this march towards a horrible, horrible outcome. Because he knew he couldn't really get himself out of this situation. But it's not just a march. It's this internal pain and like panic and scraping like of his gut, where he just knew like, I know I can't do anything. I'm marching towards a horrible outcome, but I'm going to try. I know there's something I can do. And like putting those things together was what matched what was on the screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a really weird answer to how I would think about, that question.
I got one more for you if you're ready. All right. So this show's called Love Music More. The segment's called Love Music Why. It's a complicated question, but it's a very simple question. We've talked about it already quite a bit. Why do you love music?
Oh God, do I?
Fair. That's fair. The shortest love music.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. Okay. Why do I love music, man? I don't know why I love it, man. I think it's a little bit magic. I can't say like that it makes me feel a certain way, or, like a lot of people say, a lot of non-musicians I've heard say, I love music because it makes me happy. I'm having a bad day, I put on music, it makes me happy. I think when you're in bed with music like we are, it's a different sort of relationship. We like, you and I will put music on and it could make us really sad. It could be cathartic. It make us really angry. It could alleviate anger. So it's like asking, like, why do you love your wife? Like, I don't know, I don't know, but I can't live without her. It's like, it's really hard. It's like, I don't know why. I wish I knew why, but I can't articulate it. Why do I love music? It's not a choice. I know that much. Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm really sorry. Why do you love music? What's a good answer for this question? What's a good answer? Why do you love music?
I don't know what a good answer is. That's why I'm asking so many people the same question. I really like the analogy, though, to your wife, because I've always felt that where, like, if people ask me why, it feels like it becomes a shallow, false version of itself if I try and just like list off positive personality traits. It's like, that's not the love. If the reason why I was in love with my wife was because she was perfect, it wouldn't be love either, because love is accepting imperfection.
Mm-hmm.
And that would just be recognition or like worship. And that also is more shallow than what I think the relationship to music is, because it isn't always pretty. And there are times where you like question why did you spend so much time doing this? Mm-hmm. There are a million other things that if you just spent 10% of the time that you put into that, you'd have a wildly different life.
Yeah.
but then you would also have a wildly different life.
Mhm.
It's like all of these trade-offs, and then it doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like a service. It feels like it's all things. And I personally think that music is the best art form, totally open to debate. But I feel that way because it brings the most out of me, and it feels the most reflective of what it's actually like to be a human being.
Interesting.
Tangible, intangible, lives and dies as time passes. It's reborn like a phoenix and then dies again. I really like intros and outros because I think that they are these anchor points of that music existing and then not existing. And I think if you don't pay attention to them and treat them with the love and care, you're not like treating the entire piece or whatever you're making with love and care. It's part of the reason why I don't like commercial music very much, because I felt like it was so commoditized that it almost felt like using my powers for bad.
Yeah, totally. So I totally
because
get
I
that
love it
side
so
too.
much. If I didn't love it so much, it wouldn't hurt me. You know, it's like what I think. But yeah, that's my my tiny response to it.
Yeah, it feels like a parent to me. It feels like, you know, like, why do you love your parent? I don't know. I was just born loving them. Like, you know,
right.
They've always been a part of my life.
Yeah.
And I've never questioned why I love my dad, but you know, I do because he's my dad, you know?
Yeah.
It feels a little bit like that, but yeah, that's an interesting thing, man. Like using your gift or your talent or whatever you want to call it, like using your aptitude, using your years of honing the skill. What do you want to use it for? And I think, you know, you have a lot to say. It's so interesting that anything you create, it's so hard for you to not have yourself in it, because I feel like I'm the total opposite. And I think that's such a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful
you know,
thing.
Such a cool thing that like we can do whatever we want with this thing, you know, and you know, there's no rules.
Totally. And I'm super jealous of the ability to hear, digest, turn it into a version of, and like pull yourself out of it. I think all of that is so cool.
Don't be jealous, because I'm not saying I can do it.
Yeah, okay, fair.
You know, I try to do it.
I think the credits speak for themselves. But I don't know. I think it is fun that you can have within the talent of music and the vocation of music and the craft of music, of which it's all, because I have seen various levels of talent with various levels of hard work, and it is not a fair race. Of course, myself included. There are plenty of people that have blown by me several times over, but like, it is fun that you can, even within that, have micro versions. In the same way, there's all these different types of intelligences. Trying to distill it into like an IQ test or a jury in a music school or something like that. It's like that is reducing it so far that it's like
reducing it to a chemistry class. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, to one chemistry class. So where can people keep in touch? Where can they send you good chemistry books for you to read?
My Instagram is Tristan Clopet at Tristan Clopet, and I don't know if I'm on anything else.
That's enough.
Yeah, that's enough.
We'll get you.
Yeah,
and we'll reach out and listen to your work, and
thanks, man.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, we can hang out sometime.
Thank you, buddy. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I was excited to speak to you after hearing your previous interviews, and this has been a lot of fun and just as engaging and insightful as I thought it would be.
Good. I'm so glad.
Yeah.